work to be showcased as we share our own, gain tips and tools, information, and insight to not only enhance the writing process, but be able to just enjoy the journey. Those who are willing to put pen to paper will usually have a story they are willing to tell, and they are invited to tell it right here. And if you are not a writer yet, no worries. We want you to be a part of our listening audience. So take notes if you like, send in your questions, or just feel free to comment on the candid conversation, because it's time for Authors Up.
Well, welcome, everybody. We are so glad to have you. You know, this is our favorite place to be on Sunday evenings. You have tuned in to Authors Up, and we're right here on ALH Broadcasting, an affiliate of the Streaming Inspirational Broadcast Network. That seems like a mouthful, doesn't it? But I tell you what, we are glad to be here, and we are glad that you are here with us. And I just want my co-host to welcome you as well and say something to you this evening. Ruth, are you there? You want to tell the folks, hey?
Hi, I'm glad to be here. Glad to have you guys here. So thank you for joining us.
And how about you, Victoria?
Well, y'all know I am glad to be here with my bronze girls tonight. And with you two as well. So welcome.
I tell you what, Victoria, it is so good to hear your voice. I know we missed you so much while you were gone, so I'm glad that you are back with us and feeling good.
Yes, indeed. Praise the Lord.
We usually do on our program, and we're going to start with a weekend review. Just kind of fill you guys in on our journey and what's been going on and what's been happening since we were together last week. So, Ruth, let me start off with you. I know you have something nice to talk about this evening. I'm jealous.
Oh, absolutely. You know, the last couple of weeks I've been talking about how cold it is, so I went and found myself a warm spot. So I am in Florida, and I am enjoying the weather. Oh, my goodness.
Oh.
It is just, I was telling Andrea earlier, I've been walking around with just short sleeve dress on all day, and it's just breezy. The sun is out. You know, it's still a little chilly to go to the beach, but you know what? It's just been great down here. I came down to help my daughter move, and she, you know, we pretty much got it done. We're just putting little details in place, but it's just been such a different pace down here, and the weather is great, and I'm loving it. I'm coming back.
Well, good for you. Well, good for you. You better come back. Enjoy.
Just a little bit more. Yes. So
you deserve it. I'm glad you're there.
Thank you.
Right. So what about you, Victoria? What's your week been like?
Well, the week has been, pretty quiet, but I want to share with you guys. I just had a moment of pure joy yesterday, and that's what I want our listeners to have, is some joy during this time. I'm helping with my nephew. He's 10 years old, and he's the son of my niece, and he's getting kind of antsy in the house. So I said, come on, let's go for a walk. So, I'm limping along, okay? But he ran, like he was running around, and he was running around me as I was walking. And I just looked at him and said, look at him. He's a child, and he's just running free, And it just gave me, I just really had a moment of intense joy to watch him just running. And he's my niece's child, and I helped raise her, and now helping with him. And I just think, really out there, I just thank God, even during this pandemic, we can find moments of pure joy like that. It's just amazing. So I just hope joy. I wish joy for everyone listening. So that was my week.
That's awesome.
Great. That's great. And you know what? It is in the little things.
Yes.
It's just in the little things sometimes. We work so hard and we do so many things, but we got to remember it's just those moments, just like you said, just those moments that take you away from and out of whatever it is that you've got going on personally. Just saying, look at that.
It was that for me. It really was. So, what about you, Miss Andrea?
Well, let me tell you.
Come on.
I'm working diligently on my book. I've gotten quite a ways. I'm almost ready for someone to put their eye on it.
Okay.
Not quite.
I can't wait.
Maybe by next week.
Okay. All right.
I am happy about that. And I was telling Ruth before we got on the air that I am, the other thing that I am doing is getting myself more in balance because I find that I don't have a day to myself. I don't have one day that is not appointment driven. And it's getting to the point where I have a 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 8 o'clock, and that's happening way too many days.
Right.
And so I'm really when I get off of this call, I'm going to sit down with my calendar and just do a little brief overview of what I'm doing and how I can rearrange so that I can get those little moments of joy you were talking about, Victoria.
Yes.
Really getting myself at a place where I've got some good self-care going on, and I'm not running on empty and all those good things. So I hope by next week I'm going to have a good report of my day to me.
All right. Well, good. That's good.
That is my goal.
That's a part of self-care. Really, it is.
Yes,
that's part of self-care. And so I'm proud of you because we've been talking about this a minute.
Yep. Absolutely. I'm going to make it happen, but I'm going to stop right here for now.
Okay.
And I'm going to let you share a little bit about our guest. We have a very special guest on tonight, so I am really excited about her being here. But why don't you tell us a little bit about her, Victoria?
I sure will. Our guest tonight, and I'm just happy to have her as well, is Angelia Whitestone. She is a mother of 3 and the publisher, president, and CEO of Hope for Women and Hope by the Book magazines. Motivated by her desire to encourage women and share their inspiring stories, she transformed a simple idea into an empowering endeavor when she started the Lifestyle magazine in 2005. Hope for Women magazine is headquartered in Muncie, Indiana, and is now read by over more than 1,000 women monthly. And tonight, we'll be talking to Angelia about her book, Yes, Sisters, Surrounding Yourself with Women Who Affirm, Encourage, and Challenge You. So let's welcome Angelia. Some hearts out there on Facebook, and welcome, Angelia. Welcome.
Thank you.
Snap. How are you tonight?
I'm great. I'm really good. Just listening to you ladies open up. I'm like, okay, I need to hang out with them for a day or more. I mean, Florida, all the joy, a moment of peace. I almost started crying. I was like, yes, the small things. And I'm like, yes, my kind of sisters right here.
You can't cry. I'm the resident crier over here, okay?
Okay, well, we'll be crying together.
Well, we're going to begin tonight, Angelia, and we're going to let Ruth start. And go ahead, Ruth, if you have some questions for our guest.
Absolutely. And again, we want to just thank you for joining us, Angelia. And I love your name, by the way.
Thank you.
And I loved your book also. Yes, Sisters, I think you have a very powerful message to share. and we're going to talk to you. We're going to talk about your book in a little bit. But why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? You know, we talk about the journey, the writing journey on our show, but there's usually a journey before we start writing. So, you know, tell us a little bit about yours. You know, where you're from, what inspired you to create Hope for Women.
Well, I am from, I'm in Indiana. I'm in Middle America, Middletown, Indiana. I don't know if you're familiar with Ball State University, Dave Letterman. That's where I am from. It's a small town, and I am I'm a single mother now of a 17-year-old, and I told him, I was like, okay, I'm about to be on the call. I don't need you in your game yelling and holler. Yeah, but I have altogether I have 3 amazing children. I call them my 2 sets. My older children, then there was a 10 and 8 year gap, and I still consider them my babies. In 2005 my journey started. I lost my grandmother in January of that year, and I lost my father of that year, like 2 months later. And so, you know, that is sometimes it's episodes like that happens that shows you how fragile life is, and that, you know, you have to really think about where you are. And that was during the time when people in the book, Rick Warren had the purpose-driven life, and everyone was talking about what their purpose was, and you know, and I had asked the question. I'm like, God, what am I here for? I wanted to know. I was became a believer when I was a teenager, but I just felt like, okay, I have to have a purpose. What is my purpose? And it was at that point when I realized that I wasn't really doing what I should be doing. I was like, well, how can I bring women together? And so I started a newsletter for 50 to 100 women. And I had already met with the gentleman 5 years ago that was, you know, like a mentor to me. And I knew I was supposed to do this magazine, but a lot of times you're like, nah, that's just too big. It was just, I couldn't even see myself. I'm just like, I'm just the office secretary. I can't do no magazine. So 5 years later, I said, I'm just going to do a magazine. I'm just going to do a newsletter. But then all of, you know, these things started happening in transition. I said, I'm just going to step out there on faith, and I'm just going to just believe. You know, I've been in this box and just stuck, and I got to figure it out. And so I stepped out on faith that May and launched the magazine. And before I knew it, I had 7,500 women follow me and subscribing to the magazine. And I had to figure it out. How do I make this work? So it was like it was reversed. I had to go and figure out, okay, how do I make this work? So, and almost 16 years later, here I am.
Wow.
That's incredible.
And of course, there's a whole bunch of everything in between there.
Oh, of course. Yeah. No path is ever easy, and it's never just A to B. It's usually A, smaller case, A, B. You know, it's riddled with a lot of stepping stones, and you know, I don't feel that the book is the culmination of that, but it is a product of it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your book now? Yes.
Okay. And it is. It actually, the book, you know, when I was working to put it together, I had to figure out how do I share these women, these amazing women who came into my life when I felt like when I had no clue on what to do. And so that's what Yes Sisters is. It's a book we talk about surrounding yourself with women who affirm, encourage, and challenge you. It's because that's what I was needing. I had low self-esteem. I was depressed. I felt like I didn't have any worth, and I needed the confidence, and I needed to be around people and women to tell me, oh, you can do this, you can do that. You know, being a child that I was sexually abused as a child, and then I was on this, spinning on this wheel of sexual, emotional, physical, and spiritual abuse. So 2005, when I started the magazine, I started meeting these incredible women on this journey that help encourage me, to help affirm me, and help challenge me to be who I am, and to really just to believe in myself.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So how long have you been writing? Were you an actual writer for the magazine, or were you able to hire other writers?
Absolutely not. I didn't know how to write nothing. I didn't know how to put. I had no journalism experience. I went to school for business. I had no clue on what to do. I put the church newsletter together, and that was it. I just had this great idea, and I had a passion. And so even to this day, even when I started the journey, people's like, well, how are you going to do a magazine? All the naysayers or the no people, no sister, how are you going to do a magazine? You don't even have a journalism degree. You don't know how to write. And I didn't. But like I had shared with my employer at that time, when I had told her that I was going to start this magazine, I said, you do not need a degree, and you don't need to have any experience to walk out on your dream. And that's just what I believe. And so even with my writing experience, how that came with my book is I was talking to one of the persons that I was featuring her on the cover of the magazine, and we were going back and forth, and she's like, I said, I don't know how you've written 80 books, and I'm sure you guys have a combination of several books. And I was like, how have you written 80 books, and I can't even write one? And she said, oh, you have an idea to write a book? And I said, I do. And this was I think this was 2016. And she said, well, it's just like, everything just opened up. She said, well, I'm going to introduce my literary agent, the CEO, to you. And I was like, oh, really? And I even, at that moment, I didn't know if I did have a book in me. I just, just felt like I had a story, in that I knew that my story, my journey could, help someone. And so within 2 weeks, I had a literary agent, and I was talking to, and I had a ghostwriter, and my agents, they said, well, we're going to get a ghostwriter to work with you. Because I told them, I was like, well, I don't write. I said, I can't sit there and do all that. Yep.
Wow, that is incredible. And, I, as a publisher, I work with different authors who come to me and say, well, I have this idea, or I don't know where to start, or I've been thinking about this. And, even with what you said, all you have to do is start. I truly, truly believe that, if you can just do that, God will get you what you need. You just got to start somewhere.
You do.
So that is just incredible.
It is. And when I think that, to this day, I'm thinking it's an Audible version, and my mom's like, girl, you on there, and to be in Target and you see your book there, and this is like, wow, I would never would have thought from 2005 to here this is where you go. But like you said, you just have to start. If I would have never said I want to write a book, I would never. It would have never came to pass.
That's right. That is awesome. And like I said, I've really enjoyed your book, and I'm going to hand you over to Andrea, and she's going to continue. She's going to delve a little deeper into your book.
Okay.
Well, I don't know about delving a little deeper, but there are some things that I do want to say. I thoroughly enjoyed the book. I enjoyed the different perspectives from the sisters that shared in your book, but the common thread is perseverance. Common thread for me, it was perseverance, it was trust, it was believing in yourself. And no matter who these women were or what their occupations were and things like that, everybody has that piece of their journey. You know what I'm saying? and the way that all of that was incorporated into your book, I think is incredible. But the funny thing for me is I started highlighting different areas. I'd look at something and I'd say, oh gosh, that's good, and I'd highlight it. Then I turned around and looked a few pages and I thought, this whole book's going to be yellow in a minute. Because there were so many nuggets, and I pulled some things out and that were just strong statements to me. And one of them was when Chris was saying to you, if the only thing you have is hope and faith, but no money, then you don't have anything. And your response was, you're wrong. If I have hope and faith, that's all I need. I have everything. Tell me a little bit more about that statement and what that meant to you to be able to say that.
Wow. And, it's really, when I think back at that statement, I didn't know, sometimes we don't know what's really in us and what, how strong we really are. But I just, at that moment and in that space, I just believed that. I believe that if you do what you love, and everything else is gonna follow you. And I was learning that in that process. And when I was judged because at that point not having the resources or the know-how to do what I needed to do, and then this person was telling me, well, you don't have anything. And I'm like, yes, I do. I have faith and hope, and that's all I need, because if I continue to have faith and I have this hope, which, something that my mom had even told me when it's like, because my family, it came to a certain point when they see me coming, it's like, nope, we don't have no money, don't ask. And I remember one time just being broke, and even that person basically robbed me, because I was doing, when you're passionate about something, you'll just spend, because you just really want your ideal and dream to go forward. And I was so naive. I didn't know. That was one of the learning curves. I didn't know people were out just for opportunities and all that good stuff. And my mom told me, I said, I didn't have no money. I didn't have no savings. I was working with, I didn't have anything really to be working with. And she told me, she said, you know what, Angie, because that's what everyone calls me. She said, we may not have the money. She said, but one thing they cannot take from you is what's on the inside. What God has put on the inside of you, they can't steal that from you. She said, so that's what you build upon. And that was my faith and my hope.
Amen. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Now, here's another one that I love. The dreams of our hearts, the ones instilled by God, do not die, but they can be starved and buried alive. Oh my goodness!
Yep,
that's thing. I tell you what, I think that is so true. I think that is so true. And what I don't ever want to do is starve a dream.
Absolutely not.
I don't want to starve a dream. And who is it? Somebody said that the richest place on earth is the cemetery, because so many people have this buried treasure.
Exactly. That's true.
And I just think that I just want you to talk a little bit more about those dreams.
Oh wow. Yeah. So I have always, I've had dreams, but I didn't know, how to really pursue them. And I'm just, one of the things, another book that I had read was The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkins. And a girlfriend gave me that book, and she said, you need to read this book, because at that point I didn't know about dreaming. I just, was like, again, I was stuck, and I just felt like, okay, I'm living my best life. And there was, it's like a burning and a passion that was inside of me, that I knew that it was like an unrest and an unsettled. And I couldn't put my finger on what it was. And as I began to read that book, and it talked about the person in the book was ordinary, had an ordinary life, ordinary job, and just everything was just ordinary. He had, had a, but ordinary went on the journey and just talked about how he took his dream off the mantle, and his family and different ones was told him that they was naysayers and everything. And I knew that at that point there was something to this magazine. It was going to evolve more than just a magazine, but it was going to be something more. It was going to be a tool and a vehicle to something bigger, but I didn't know what it was. But I kept dreaming, and it was important to keep that dream alive. This through, loss, like almost bankruptcy, just a whole bunch of just obstacles. It's always so important to keep that hope and dream of just rolling out the bed, after you don't cried all night, like, okay, how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to, you know what I'm saying? And just praying and just like, okay, what do I do next? When the magazine put 2 magazines on the newsstands, and then the newsstand distributor tells you that they filed bankruptcy, you're not going to get a penny of those 15,000 magazines that you put on the newsstand. It's like, okay, I'm already struggling. So, but it's deeper. It was deeper. And I said, it's a dream. And that statement that you said is so powerful, because you just don't want to die without being able to have something that's not been fulfilled. So,
right. Well, I tell you what, you have. I had a friend who wanted to have a magazine, and I think that's one of the. There are a lot of tough things to do, but it seemed like the obstacles for a magazine are just. It's a lot.
It is. It really.
I don't know.
The magazine industry, and this industry is really not even designed for people of color, and you have that obstacle, and then it's just, you have the obstacles of trying to break down barriers to get advertising dollars, to get subscribers. I had people early on saying, oh, well, you need, Black people don't read, they're not going to buy the magazine. It was just a whole bunch of things. And I was like, nope, I don't believe that. Nope, I don't believe that. And listening to pitching hope to a lot of the white Christian publishing houses for them to advertise their clients in our book, and they would say things like they don't feel like it's tangible, and what my product, they want to put their authors in the magazine for free. And it was all a part of being able to know our value and our worth. And sometimes the worst thing, Ruth, and sometimes people say, you done had a rough week, rough night, done lost and can't even win. And then people's like, well, you still here. I was like, well, yeah, I guess so. And that's when you'll get that letter in the mail from someone's family member sent the magazine to someone in prison, and then the woman writes you and tells you how your magazine is, and you're blessing them. You're like, oh, I got to get up, I got to keep going, I got to keep doing it.
Yes. Indeed. Well, I'm going to stop, because I have a whole yellow page here. But I'm going to give Victoria an opportunity, because I know she had some things to talk to you about too.
Yes,
so
I
Victoria,
do.
I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yes. I'm going to try to keep within my time too. And Julia, can you tell us, what is a yes sister? Since that is part of the title of your book, tell our listeners what a yes sister is.
Okay, I won't read it verbatim out the book, but I'll just say it from what I know. Is a yes sister is that sister and those women in our life. Sometimes we call them our row, we call them our tribe. These are the women that are cheering you on when you can't even cheer yourself on. But these are the ones telling you, go ahead, girl, you got this. Those are your yes sisters.
All right now. All right. I think I got some yes sisters right on this show with me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the yes sisters aren't always telling you something positive, but if you get out of line, they gonna put you in check too. So,
Indeed.
We qualify. We qualify.
okay.
Well, your book is we are really champions of being transparent, because we know that only by being transparent can we really help someone else. And your book is really transparent, and you tell your story. And how was that very challenging for you, or was it freeing for you?
It was both. It actually was both, Victoria. But I knew even going in, I had shared that with my agent in my collaborative writer. I said it's very important for me to share my story, because I felt like I was ashamed of my story, and I hid from it. So a lot of times the magazine, when I can't remember who asked if I was a writer, but I didn't write, because I would rather for the women and my writers and contributors to tell my story. I may say, oh, I think this is a great idea, when I should have wrote that piece. But I was so ashamed and felt like, okay, my life is not perfect. And so I hid. So at this point, I felt like it was very important for me to be candid, so I can really show people what I really had to go through to get to where I'm at. I mean, it looks, glamorous. It looks, people's like, oh, your magazine looks like this. But I said, you really have no clue of what I really went through to get to this point.
Right.
So it was very important.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'm so glad that you did. I'm telling you, listeners, you got to get the book. That's my tagline. But this one is just beautiful. It is beautiful how you tell your story, how you write your story, and all the little wonderful little nuggets, like Andrea was saying. I mean, it's just beautiful. And how long did it take you to write it?
Oh, let's see. I think it was, and see if you ladies do the writing of the books. I think it's just like, oh my gosh, I did not know. Ooh, it took, let's see, 16, 17, it took probably, we talked about it in like late 16, and then 17 we started to really, just coming up with the table of contents. And I'm just like, well, that took like 6 months. I'm like, so it took probably about 3 years actually for it to really come to, everything to come to fruition. Yeah. It's a process.
Right.
Wow. So I love y'all authors. I love authors. I have a whole different respect for y'all. And we actually went to, me and my writer and my agent, we went to Illinois for a weekend, had an Airbnb. It was really intense. And then we were just barricaded in this house, and there was no TV, nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, can you tell our listeners where they can get the book and how they can get in touch with you?
Right. You can get the book on still on various sites, on Amazon. You can find it on Target, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, and any of your major bookstores, christianbooks.com, or you can go to Baker Publishing and order it directly from my publisher. You can get in touch with me at Angie@hopeforwomenmag.com, because I love women connecting and people connecting with me, sharing their stories, and I love allowing women to have a platform to share their story through hope. And because someone gave me a chance, I want to give other women a chance. Our website is hopeforwomenmag.com.
That is great. And I'm going to read this one quote from the book, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ruth for a tip. It just says, but the truth is that any woman can remain gracious, lovely, kind, warm, and loving, while also being strong and driven. Power is at its best when it builds beliefs, provides opportunities, and strengthens others. And I just think that's very empowering. And I think that anyone who reads your book will be empowered and just feel your heart, because you really put your heart into this book. And we thank you for coming. Really, we do.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Well, hang on with us just a little bit, and we're going to hear Ruth's tips for tonight.
All right.
Awesome. Well, last week we talked about practicing your craft as a writer. I mentioned writing prompts and I wanted to go into a little more detail. Now, remember, a writing prompt is simply a topic around which you start jotting down ideas. It could be a single word, a phrase, a complete paragraph, or even a picture, with the idea being that it gives you something to focus on as you write. So the point is simply to start writing without being held back by inhibitions or doubts. So a prompt may give you an idea from which a complete story grows, or you may get fresh ideas for another piece that you're already working on. So it helps you build into the habit of writing, and it can be a great way to get involved in a writing community. We do something like that on our show called the My Time Story Time, which we are, stay tuned for next week. We're going to have details on our next one. So, but the internet is a great source for writing prompts. There are sites out there, creativewritingprompts.com or writersdigest.com. You can go on Instagram, Twitter, even Facebook. Just look them up. Just look for writing prompts, and there are great sites out there. But, honestly, the best place you will find it is in your life. Just snatches of overheard conversation, headlines, signs, words picked up from books, and so on. So there are writing prompts everywhere. And if you, take a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes a day, just, let something just catch your eye, let a word catch your thoughts, and just write something around that. And, if you get into that habit, let it, start journaling, you're going to make your craft, it's going to spark your creativity, and it'll help you practice writing and help it to become a part of your day. So that's it.
All right. Awesome. Ruth, you always have such good tips for us.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to help.
That.
You're welcome. I just want to help people develop their writing.
Well, I appreciate that.
That was awesome. Those were good tips.
Thank you.
Real good
and
tips.
Miss Victoria, I want to tell you, it has not happened for a long time, but that was a quote that I had on my page tonight.
Really? Wow.
Yes. We always, I just shared with the listeners when we first started the program, and we would always get to this point to say, okay, what are you going to cover? What are you going to cover? And I was always going, Victoria, I was going to say that.
Well, that's wonderful how we still think alike, right?
That's right. That's right. So, Ruth, do you have any closing remarks for us tonight?
Well, I just wanted to thank our listeners for joining us this evening. I wanted to thank Angelia for being on our show and sharing her wonderful book. And just to remind our listeners, we air on Sunday nights. We do have a replay on Saturday evenings. If you're not able to get to those specific times, you can still download our podcast on your favorite platform. Just search for Authors Up Show. And that's it.
And Victoria, I know you've got one final thing to say, don't you?
Of course. Listeners, I'm going to say it again. Get the book. Yes, sisters, is worth it. You got to get it. And also, if you have any comments or concerns, or just want to share with us your thoughts on the show, or have any ideas for us, please send us an email at authorsup@gmail.com.
That's right. And I echo my co-host again. Angie, thank you so much, not just for being with us, but for persevering through the process to even bring this magazine and bring this book to fruition, because I know that it's going to help a lot of people,
Man.
So thank you again for being with us. And listeners, you know what to do. First of all, you got to send up some hearts so Angie knows how much we appreciate her. And
Thank you.
How grateful we are that she was
You
even
ladies
with
are
us
amazing.
tonight. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But we will be right back here. We are here every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Until then, this is Andrea Hines with Victoria Henderson Poole and Ruth Griffin. And there's never a dull moment here at
Authors Up.